That'd be good.
Well, speak into the microphone.
Google it. Google it. All right, so let's start again. We were working on drawing the logged entries that we had, and so we started off getting this final panel and the canvas that we could actually draw on. And the last thing we did was we drew a circle at 380. 300 was the X position, and 80 was the Y position, and 30 was the diameter. So radius, that's what I meant. So when we go to our weight chart, this is what it looks like. So 300 in the X starts on the left-hand side and goes positive this way. Y at 80, why is it not down here? Normally when we think of graphic, in school at least, we're taught that the first quadrant is down here, right? So this is 0, 0. You go up in the Y direction, and you go right in the X direction. Well, the X direction looks right. We're over 300. But 80, it should be down here somewhere, right? No, we're not in. We're in the first quadrant, but we're mirrored flipped. So Y, 0, 0 is up in the upper left-hand corner. Here, Y goes positive down, and X goes positive across. So let's draw that. I like this OneNote, it's pretty cool. So we can have our X and Y coordinates here. And so this is, no it's not. It's not. The fourth quadrant is both negative.
Well, X is positive, but Y.
There is no quadrant that this fits in. It's the flipped of the first quadrant. It's not the fourth quadrant. All right, so this goes positive X, and this goes positive Y. Now this is the same in almost every graphics programming now, because the upper left of your monitor is 0, 0, and we go positive to the right, X, and positive Y down. It's very interesting, right? It's exactly like CSS, right? So we have to work out, so 300, 80 would be right around here, right? So that's where it drew our circle. So we draw our circle, see if we can actually draw a circle here. It drew our nice little circle right here, right? So if we were to draw a normal graph where 0, 0 is down here, because people don't think this way, right? You're not gonna have a weight chart that goes like this. It'll be the mirror image of what people think. Their weight is drawing this way. If their weight was going like this,
You'd have to find the bottom and subtract the top.
they say, well, my weight is increasing, right? But in fact, it's decreasing. So how do we fix that? How do we flip this?
You have to find the bottom and then subtract the Y value from the total.
Right.
Bottom.
So we need to have our Y value down here. We need to have this reversed. I'm not a good OneNoter here, obviously. So we'd have to do something like this, where our 0 point is down in this area, down here. Oops, down here, right? And so when we draw it, it's going to look like that. So this is 0, 0, 0, 0 down here. X goes positive to the right, and Y goes positive up. That's really the first quadrant that we know about from geometry, right? So we have to find an origin point that's down here, and then use that origin point to keep modifying the values so that we can draw them correctly. All right, so let's do a little bit of that. Let's start by saying, let's pick an origin X, and let's assign that to something like, what did I choose? where's my, oh.
Are we assuming a tablet size layout?
That's something you're going to have to work out for the device that you're drawing on. So, and you would have to do some calculations based on the size of your viewport, the whole graphic piece, and take that into account and scale your whole graph to fit that full screen. Then if they rotate it, you have to do the same thing. So there's a lot of math that you'd have to deal with to do that.
But the thing is, theoretically, we generate this on, let's say, like your tablet and your virtual device, and phone, and everything. Theoretically, you could display off screen.
Yeah, right.
If you chose a phone with like a
Right.
really low resolution.
Right. So that's why you really have to take that into account. You have to find the properties of the phone. But we're not going to do that right now. So, so let's draw. Let's draw some more things. Let's do a canvas.draw text, and we can say. To show you how you would get some of that information that you're talking about, there's a get width value, and a get height value that tells you the canvas size of this view. And this is the x and y coordinates of where we're going to put this, and our paint object for the style that everything's going to be painted in. So let's just draw that, and we'll see the width and our height as text on our screen here. It's this usable view that we have here, this view that we've created through this context. So we got to get back to our, we really need a launch bar, activity bar. So here we go. This is, it says 800 by 1216, something like that. The problem was that it's it's using this stroke thing. So it doesn't look very good. So let's run it again, and let's flip our rotate our tablet and see if we get some different values here. It's broken. Just slow.
I was trying to load it,
And you flipped it, and now I can't do anything. Come on. Yeah, not so funny.
As long as it's tab accessible and you know it's there.
There we go. So now it says 1280 by 736. Very small, but at least we can read it. If I rotated this, it's going to stop and restart it. Now I get 800 by 1216. So you can use those values to help yourself set a normal point for drawing your origin, x and y. So, yeah, you could just use those in reverse. But I want it out on the screen a little bit, so I chose 10 and 800. So now let's draw the x and y coordinates now from that point. So,
Do it mathematically from the origins.
right? So I need the origin. So if I want to draw a horizontal line does the y change or does the x change? X changes, right? So x and y, and we don't want to draw a circle, I want to draw a line, where I give it the x and y starting position, which would be 0, 0 normally, but in this case it's going to be what? Right. I'm going to use my origin x and my origin y. And then I'm going to go to some x in the positive. And so let's pick, I don't know, 500, 600 to the right. And is my origin y is going to stay the same. All right. And then the last thing I need is my paint. Got to have your paint. So that should draw my horizontal line. And my vertical line is going to start in the same place, the origin, the new origin. But the y is going to change and the x is going to stay the same, right? So I'm going to keep my x the same and my y is going to go vertical. Boy, terrible. All right, origin, so my y is now going to go from the origin y, which is 800, down to what number? I want to go up.
So you want to go negative.
Right, I want to go negative from my 800. So I'm going to take my origin y and maybe, well, I don't want to go all the way to the top. Let's subtract 600 from it to show you, because that should make us a 600 square line like an L, right? Where both legs of the L are, right? So let's try that. And let's make my pixel a little bigger so I can.
Well, if you get that request window feature, if you put that above the layout column,
This one?
it should. You go up
Above here?
above the set content.
Ah. Yes. So that takes off the title. Yeah, it was working at home, but I don't know why it didn't. All right. See, I was going to change the text size. You can also change the size of the text. So let's do that while we're here. So as we're creating our paint, we can set the style of our text as set text size, and let's make this 20 so we can really see it. So let's run this now. Got to do a bunch at once or it takes too long. So now we should be drawing this X here, I mean the Y vertical and the horizontal L is what we're trying to draw here. Bob Ross. Then the cute little trees here, right? Happy little trees, that's right. Happy trees. Right. Yeah, that'd be good. All right, so this is the size of my viewport, and this drew my vertical and my horizontal X and Y here. Isn't that nice? So now if we had some points in here, how would we draw those? Say we had some weight up here that changed over time. All right, so let's just figure that out a little bit. Let's draw a couple of lines. Let's say we had some points. So we start with, we can do this all with draw lines. We can say, let's say our first one is going to be, what would our x coordinates be? What are we tracking in the x coordinates? Dates, time, right? Some time object. So over time, our weight is in the y-axis. Our weight is going to fluctuate. That's typically what people want to see, right? So our x is our time, and our y is our weight. So let's just start out with a few of them like this. Let's just go 10 and 200, and then 20 and 210, and 30 and 2. Let's see, they really lost weight. Let's go back to 180. All right, so let's draw. If we draw a line from this point to this point, that shows us over time, that's what it is, right? From this point to this point, the graph is going to be like a line going up. So we don't need angles or anything. And then from the next point to the next point, we're just going to draw another line. So 2 lines will take into account these 3 points. So our 10, our x is fine, so we're going to go origin x plus 10, because we want everything to be based off of this origin. And our origin y, what? Well, no, we just have to subtract 200. All right, because we're at 800, we subtract 200, that'll put the point at 600, which is just above, which is 200 above the 0 point. See that? Right, in this case, yes. And then we want to go to origin x plus 20 and origin y minus 210. All right, and then we need to do something similar. We're going to go to 30. From the last point, the point that we just drew to here. So this is going to be the same point, right? And then we're going to go one more to the right, and this last one will go to 180. All right, so let's see what that looks like. Going to look beautiful, I'm telling you. Problem is, 10 is really not very far apart, so we won't see too much. But we should see a little tent, you know. There you go. Look at that. So he started here at what, 200 pounds, went up to 210, and then down to 180. And then over time, you're going to see this jagged chart, hopefully in the declining direction, right? So that gives you, that shows you how, if you had a bunch of points, this could loop through and draw each point one at a time, right? Everybody see that? You're just going to draw from one point to the next, and then from the last point you draw to the next point, from the last point to the next point. So you could put that into a loop and draw all of the values here. Yes? I'm not quite sure I'm getting the yes here. All right. So let's figure out that loop, because that loop will be useful for us once we read in the data back from our log. So let's create a new value called a list, all right? An array list of integers. Well, that's weird. All right, we can create inside of here this new Java concept called an array list that is going to store integers, and we'll just call it weight list. Sounds good. And we'll create a new array list of type integer. All right? And this is an extensible array. This is a lot like Ruby, whereas if you just declared an array like this, you have to tell it exactly how many points or cell values that array has in it, right? Just like C#, you have to pre-declare it. But an array list is extensible, and you can add to it as you go, which is nice. All right. So let's fill up that array list a little bit here. And I did this by reading data from the log file. So let's just make up some data. So I can say wait list, and I can call the add method, and I can add an integer. So I can say, let's add his weight of 200, and let's add a weight of 210, and let's add, now obviously I'm going to be reading this from the log file eventually, right? But let's create a few of these. And he went back up to 190, went down to 180 again, went up to 185, and down to 150. All right, so this array has these values, and all I care about, in this case anyway, is the y position. That's the weight over time, and I'm going to fix my time as just being some value going out to the right, just so we can see how to draw this stuff. All right, so I need to look at my loop here, and we have a new way of looping through this. I can do a for loop, and inside I can define a variable that's going to be my weight, and I'm going to loop through my weight list. So this lets me, this is like an each loop in Ruby, or a for next loop in PHP, or not quite like just a normal for loop in JavaScript, but this gives me a local variable that gets assigned the next value in the weight list, one at a time. Then I can use that weight value to do something as I'm drawing. Does that make sense? So it's just a simple loop through all of the lists. It will give me all of them one at a time. I don't have to worry about a counter or anything like that. So I'm going to draw a line. And I need to have some values in here. I'm going to have a current y, and I'm going to get the first value from my wait list. Sorry, I called it something else. This is a way, get me the index 0 from my wait list and store it in my current y. So I'm going to get the first weight value. And then my first x value is going to be 10. Or, yeah, origin x plus 10. All right, let's put it out away from the wall of the graph, all right? So then my values here have to start from I have to have a starting point and an ending point. So my starting point is my current x. See, I had implemented this into here, so we're going to put plus our origin x. And then we're going to go to our origin y, but remember we have to subtract that. So we origin y minus current y. So that's our starting point. And then we're going to go to the next value. The next value is going to be my current x plus my some value like 10. That's the dates going across, plus my origin x. Does that make sense so far? So that's the second point. Let's put them all on their own little lines here so we can see them. And then I'm going to subtract my origin y minus my weight, which is the next value in the list, and then my paint object. All right, so that gives me two different points. And then what I need to do is change my current x to be, add some value to that, like 10. And my current y is going to be just my weight. So that way I'm moving the next point down a slot and getting the next weight on top of that. So I'm getting 2 points, and I'm cycling through the 2 points. Does that make sense? No. Well, yes, go ahead.
Wait list, when you're doing the for loop, start at index 0?
Yes, so this is going to draw the first one from a point to a point. So the same point.
The same point.
Right, so it's going to draw a line from a single point to the same point. And that just gets me started. And then I can use that. I had to have some place to start. So that makes sense. There's lots of ways to do this, but this is the way that came to me first. So,
Start out straight line?
well, it's a point to a point, so there's going to be nothing there.
No, but it starts at 10 and then goes to 20 on the X.
Yeah.
Well, these don't have anything to do with it.
No, on the first, if you look, your current X is 20 or 10,
Yeah.
and then it's going to current X plus 10, so it'll go from 10 to 20.
See, because
It'll just start out straight.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right.
the current y is going to be
Well, this is,
for the first and second loop.
yes, right. You're right. It's going to draw from 10 to 10, so that's a problem. But not too bad. So this first little tent was from these two lines. And then the rest of it is drawn from here. So it does have a straight line here, you're right. It's not drawing it from a point to a point. So it's drawing from here to here, and then it's working correctly after that point. All right, so my algorithm is not perfect, but it's close. It's close, right? So that is a way to loop through some values. If I then read these values from my weight log, I could loop through these and it would print out all across over a fixed time. All right, so I'm not taking into account my time values, but
Do 0, and then first current x, and then add plus 10.
yeah, we'll have to figure out how to fix that. That doesn't quite work either. But close. So you can see how to draw this, at least. You can start to see, I could figure out my X positions here as date objects, and I might have to scale them. If I have 10 different date objects, they're not going to be every day. They're not going to be fixed. So how do you do that over time? That's pretty tough to figure out the date logic here. You'd have to scale it into days, and this is a day, but then she took 5 days to weigh it herself, and now it's over here. And then she did one day, and it's going to be here. So probably days would probably be the easiest thing. Yeah, that would be a number, right? Because they just want to see that they're gradually going down, right? This is just for their own purposes. And same for the diabetic sugar levels. They want to see over time that they're going down or staying flat or whatever.
If they're 70 pounds, it just tells them to go see a doctor.
Right. So we have the basics here. Tomorrow what we'll do is we'll take this data and we'll read this from the log file. We'll add a bunch more entries in Excel because it's easier and put the file back in place rather than adding them through our interface. And then we'll draw this, we'll read them from the log file, and we'll draw them using our same function here. And then we'll show you how to use a open source graphing library, which is really cool. Saves just a ton of time. So, and that's what I would rather you use actually is this open source library. It's called, for those that want to play ahead of time, it's called a chart engine. And it does some nice looking charts with relatively simple code. So we'll be doing that. Yep.